Okay guys, back for part 7. May end up doing a part 8, I'm not sure. We got to put the fuel tank in, put the engine on it, and balance it, and that's all, but usually takes a little while to do the engine stuff. Did get my canopy completely done, did a little bit of extra trimming here, and some colors. One thing I did forget to show you on the landing gear, I forgot to turn my camera on when I was putting it on, the main landing gear. I did change the axles. This thing, these Phoenix models are built pretty good, but one thing I don't like is the axles that come with them. They're kind of Mickey Mouse. You can make them work, but these nuts, I mean, look at the slack in that wiggling. I mean, they don't even fit tight. It's like they don't fit the threads, and they'll strip really easy. So I don't care for those. So what I usually do is, and I keep a bunch on hand, is I get the Great Plains brand that has the big hub on it, and it's got a solid nut on the back side, and this is a big lock nut. The only thing you have to do is you have to drill the hole out in your landing gear strut to fit this, because it's larger, but it's a lot more solid. So I would recommend changing those out on any of these Phoenix models. I don't care for the landing gear axles that they come with, but other than that, they're built pretty good. I really like them. I've got several of their planes. I've got this one, I've got the Gauss 202, I've got the Spitfire, I've got the Strega Mustang. I know several, I've had some other ones too, I can't think what they were now, but my friend Bill has got the Decathlon. We've got several of these Phoenix models, and we all really like them. They're good, decent quality for the price. So anyway, just wanted to show you that on the landing gear, and we will get started. First thing I'm going to do is put a switch. I haven't put the switch in here yet. I want to go ahead and get that installed. And then of course the battery will be the last thing we mount, and I don't know where it's going to go. I'm hoping the fuel tank will go up here, so I'm hoping the battery will fit right in here. I'm not sure. I have to leave room to get to these wing nuts here and here to tighten those up, so I've got all my wiring kind of bunched up here. Of course that goes to the ailerons and the head and tail. So other than that, it's all done. So we'll get started here and figure out where we're going to put this switch. I'm thinking, since this is kind of a double wall deal, I don't know, I may put it right there inside here, because that'll kind of hide most of the switch. It's fairly flat on the outside. It'll fit right there. It's balsa, but I think it'll be strong enough. I can reinforce the back of it if I need to, or I could put it back here somewhere, right in there too. I just don't want it to get in the way of getting in there to get my nuts in there, the wing nuts in there, the bolts I mean. So back here's a big open place, but I don't want the wiring coming out in the way of those servo arms and stuff. So most likely we'll probably put it right up here. We'll see how that goes. So we'll get started here on that. Okay, I think I've decided to put the switch right here between these two red deals. There'll be plenty of room on the inside. You can see the space over here, what I'll have. So I think we'll put that right there. So what we'll do is take the back plate off the switch, and we will center it right here where I want it. Probably right there. And we'll take a large T-pin. We'll stick through there, both holes. Okay. Now we'll take our marker and we will mark inside that hole. Okay, we've already got our screw holes marked for the T-pins. Let's pull those back out. Put those over here in my little foam deal. Okay, now we want to cut. Now cutting lengthways with this, you're going to be cutting with the grain, so it's going to be real easy to cut. Cutting down is going to be cutting against the grain, so you have to be careful not bust your wood. But I'm going to cut just to the outside of that mark. Now this is kind of soft balsa here. I may have to reinforce that on the back side. Now we don't want to go out past our hole. This one you have to kind of saw it as you go, so it doesn't bust the wood. Okay, let's go ahead and do this one back here, just outside the line. I've got a good sharp blade in this. Okay, now let's go up here. So cutting with the grain, it cuts real easy. It'll just slice right through it. Okay. Alright, there's our hole for our switch. Now, I want the on position to the back. The only reason for that is because my friend Ken said he had one mounted where on was forward, and whether it be a bug or whatever, something hit it in flight and kicked his switch off. So we always turn the on to the back. That way there's nothing can hit that and turn it off. So we'll run our wires through here. And let's see, make sure our on's to the back. Look at there, perfect fit. Okay, now we'll take our little back plate and we'll run the wires through it. And it will slide right up over the back side of the switch. It's kind of hard to get started because it fits really snug. There we go. Alright, now let's get a screw started. We've already got our little hole there. Doesn't take much. We'll see how strong this feels once I get it together. Push that back up there. Okay. That in there. Didn't start in my plastic back there. I gotta get it lined up with the hole. There we go. Gotta get it in that hole in that back plate. Now we'll snug it down. Just so. Alright, that's not too bad. It's pretty solid. It'll be okay. So I won't have to put a backing on there. Okay, now we won't mount our battery yet, but we can just kind of lay it in here. Hook it up, make sure everything's going to work. And this will go in the receiver. Get lined up here. Okay. Alrighty, let me get my radio. Let's see. Let's I've got these color coded. The two yellow ones will go to my ailerons. The black one goes to the tail, and the blue one goes to the head. That way when I plug all these up, I don't get them mixed up. Put that in there. Black one. And all those will stuff down in there out of the way. Okay. His head turn with the ailerons. Tail wag with the rudder. So alright, everything's working. Now we can get started mounting the engine on this thing. We'll be back in just a minute. Okay, got our motor mount. Let's get it opened up. Dump it out. Now, this particular plane, 99 out of 100 of these ARF kits you buy, they already have the holes pre-drilled and the blind nuts mounted in them. There's pluses and negatives to that. The plus side is it's easier, you just bolt your engine mount on and go with it. The negative side is, say you have, okay, here's an instance, my Seagull Models Edge 540 that I'm fixing to build. The blind nuts are already in it, so that the engine mounts at about a 45-degree angle with the head down like this. Alright, I'm going to have to pull those out of that plane, re-drill it because I'm putting a 20cc DLE gas engine on that particular plane, and I want the head inverted. So on that particular plane I'm going to have to re-drill and remount. So that's a disadvantage on one like that. Now if I was just going to put a glow engine on it, then I could just mount it just like it is and it'd be okay, but we're not. On this plane, it's a 46 size, so there's really, unless a guy put a 15 or 17cc gas engine, which I'm going to try one of them one of these days. They say they're not bad little engines if you replace the ignition on them. The ignition system is what's bad on those cheap little China motors. But the motor itself runs pretty good, but you need to change the ignition at 30-40 bucks for a decent one. So someday I'd like to try that. If we were putting a gas one, all gas engines you mount with the head inverted. So your spark plug wire and everything's down here on the bottom. On this particular plane, this one here, it's made for the engine to use the stock muffler. We have a brand new OS 55AX we're putting on it. I do have a pit style muffler I could use. If I were going to do that, I could put the engine with the head pointed to the right side and the pits would come straight out the bottom. These Phoenix models, almost all of them have a cutout in the belly for the stock muffler. I'm going to go ahead and use the stock muffler because it's made to go with this engine, and it actually, this little 55 is a screamer. I've got it on my Giles 202, I had one on my Big Stick. They scream, and it's called a power box muffler that comes with it. So it probably will be the best choice, and seeing how this cutout's already here, it allows your muffler to lay right in that. So what we're going to have to do on this one, and this gives you the choice of drilling your holes. You could either put it like that or inverted. This one is going to have to go at about a 40 to 50 degree angle with the head coming down here, and that allows your muffler, the way it bolts onto your head, to lay right in that little muffler trough in the belly right there. So we'll have to measure all this and mark where that goes and drill the hole. Also, another thing, most of these ARF kits, most of them come with the right thrust. Some of them have right and down thrust. This one does. Most of them have the firewall already built with that thrust in. This one's not. It's flat. So, and it tells you in the book you need a 3-degree right thrust and a 1 or 2 degree down thrust. So what we're going to have to do is, where this mounts is, we're going to have to put washers under this corner over here to tip this. We'll have to put probably 2 washers under there, 1 up here, and then maybe 1 down here to get the angle we want on this for that 3-degree right thrust. If you put this engine on here just straight, this plane's not going to fly very well. It's going to pull and torque to the left real bad. So they put that right thrust to counter act against the rotation of the engine. And almost all planes, even real ones, will have some right thrust, and some of them have down thrust. This one in particular calls for right thrust and down thrust, so a lot of them just have the right. So anyway, we're get that lined out here. Let's get our engine out of the box. I gotta find my muffler. I've taken the muffler out for some reason. It's over here in the box, I think. Okay, put that aside. About dropping here. Okay, there's our brand new, pretty 55AX engine. These are nice little engines. They're screamers, boy. They got a lot of power. It's basically a 46AX casing with a larger head and a piston. It bolts up to the same pattern as a 46AX. And they've done the same thing with the 61 to the 75. The 61 and 75 have the same bolt pattern, but the 75 has a bigger head and bigger piston for more power. So, very good little engines. This thing's going to set on there at an angle just like that, and that way the muffler will come down and go right there into that groove. Now, you'll have to look in our book and figure out the distance to the front of the thrust washer. And the front of the thrust washer is this big silver washer, not the black one. That goes on front of your prop. This is your thrust washer right here. It's got those little knurled grooves in it that holds your prop tight or your back plate. That's the front. That's what you measure to when you're putting an engine on here from there to the firewall. Alright, let's get the rest of this laid out here and we'll be back in just a minute. Okay, one thing I'm going to do before I mount this engine, the cowl screws will go through into this firewall. That's less than 1/4 inch thick. It's really hard to get them tight in that. So I'm going to make me some cowl blocks. I've taken some little hardstock. I cut them a 1/2 inch long, sanded the ends flat, and then I went ahead and pre-drilled holes in them, and I'm going to glue those right here. Now the cowl doesn't set completely flush against this, it's kind of offset, so I'm going to leave these a little high sticking up, and then I'll sand them off. But I'm going to glue those into place right now with epoxy and let those be setting. That way when we do get to the cowl, then I'll have blocks there to put my screws to. Okay, mix up my epoxy till it's a nice milky color. Put a pretty good little amount on there. Turn this way where I can see, make sure it's flat. Okay. I wish I had a way to clamp these. I don't think I have any clamps big enough to fit all the way across here. Get the last one on here. Okay, excuse me. If you'll notice, the hole in this firewall is slightly off center. Now, if you're just looking at this right here, it looks real off center, but you got to measure all the way to the bottom of the round part. That's where it's going to. So if you measure from there to there, it's slightly to the left side. The reason for is because you're going to put a 3-degree right angle, so it's offset in that when you angle it to the right, then the center of the nose cone will still come out in the middle of the cowl up here, and it's slightly down. So we're actually going to raise this just slightly up a little bit too, to counter for the. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to mark one hole and I want to drill that one. Now that's the size of the hole in this for the bolt. I'm actually going to have to go size up. I have to go to this one for the blind nut, for the shaft and the blind nut. So what we'll do is wallow that out. Alright, now what I want to do is put this blind nut in place back here. Let me get my bolt ready for it. Alright, I'm going to put a washer on it. And then, see if I can get my hand in here. Well, I can't find the hole. There it is. There. I'll be able to see that blind nut. Ah, dropped that one. I'll get another one here. Now I want to hold that in place with my thumb. And then I'm going to screw this down. Pull that blind nut into place. Let me get my big screwdriver here. I'm going to use a flathead on this. Just cinch that down enough to pull that blind nut up into the wood flush. Okay, now we'll back this out. I'm probably going to need another washer on there too. It's going to bend these. Okay. Alright, now what we're going to do is go ahead and put our lock washer on here. Well, said I would. There we go. I'll put this in place. Don't want to push on that and knock your blind nut loose. It's fairly solid in the wood, but okay, we're going to cinch that down. Now if you notice, I've got this offset from the hole. I've got it up and that way just a little bit. That's to compensate for the angle of the thrust. So now what we're going to do that we've got that in place is put the other drill bit back in it. We're going to drill these holes. By locking that in place with that one bolt, that ensures that you've got all those lined up perfect. Alright, now we'll take this back out. Okay. Let me find a washer here. Sure they got one in here somewhere. Yeah, here's one. Okay. Now we're going to use this against here too to keep from bending that little flat washer we've got on there. So, all right, let's put another one of them on there. Put that in there. Well, first we got to drill our holes out even bigger. Okay. Get all the flash off the inside. Okay. Now, I've got one blind nut in here. I'll get a hold of it. Alright, let's move that out of the way. See if I can get my big old hand. Some of these are kind of tricky to get the angle on. Let's see if I can get this bottom one first. Sometimes you can stick the bolt through there and get it lined up with the threads and start it. There we go. Just holding a little pressure on it. Now let's cinch it down. Just pull it down tight enough to make sure it pulls all the way up into the wood good and snug. You can feel the edge of it in there with your hand. Okay, got that one. Alright, let's do one more over here, I think. I might be able to, well, I'll have to turn it. Get my big old hand up in that fuel compartment. Alright, there's the hole. All I got to do is get it threaded straight. Okay. Alright, let's crank that one down. I'm using the tip of my finger to feel in there to make sure it's pulling up flush with the wood. Okay, back that off. One more. Okay, and it is over here on this side. There we go. Cinch that one down. Okay. Now we've got all of our blind nuts intact. Alright, they're all in there. Now the motor mount should mount right up to that. Let me find a couple more washers here for spacers. There's one, two. How many I'm going to need? I may have to go get in my box here. Oh, there's another one. I don't really have a gauge to measure this angle, so I'm just going to kind of guess at it, but usually I put 2 washers and that will give it about the right thickness. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to put 2 of them behind this top right corner. Okay, What I've done, these two top ones, I put 2 washers underneath that, and then I put 1 under this corner, which will allow a little bit of down thrust, but these 2 over here will give it more right, and nothing under this corner. So that hopefully will be pretty close to what I need. I don't really have a way, I don't have a gauge to measure that, so that's kind of guesswork. But anyway, and I didn't Loctite them at this point either, because I gotta take it back off to drill my holes for my motor. But we've got that in place, and now we'll get the motor engine clamped on there and decide where to put it.